What's up guys, I'm Jeremy and this is our UTV Source 2021 Kawasaki KRX1000 ES build.
I'm never off my grind. Go hard like a day. Go hard like a day. It's game time like game day. It's game time like game day. I ball hard and clutch play. I ball hard, I clutch play. I'ma always win.
Now we're both hanging out in the garage today to bring you our UTV Source Break-In Period review. The Break-In Period review is supposed to be our final video on our builds that kind of comes back after we've done the bone stock review and ride. Rick's built the car and unveiled the build to you guys in our UTV Source build walkarounds. And then we've spent considerable amount of time in the car, both stock and built trim. We like to say at least 24 hours. This one's got well over double that. So we can say we've effectively spent an entire day, 24 hours, in the driver's seat. So after this thing's been out to Johnson Valley, Death Valley, Lake Elsinore Motocross Park, all over the Arizona desert and all over OHV trails here in SoCal, we feel we've got the credentials to be able to give you our hot take on this vehicle. So without further ado, let's roll right into it and get started.
Yeah, everybody with it. Eyes super heavy, I'm moving steady right through the city, lift it. My foot up on the gas, get up out the way, or watch you on the Michelin. Ties tied away, better ride that or you swimming with the fishes. Try not to get offended. My spaceship is coming, my base steady grumbling. I'm facing my drugs, so I space and my problems is coming together. I'm pacing my steps and it's so crazy. I patience the time I work, yo, it's back, I'm true to this shit. You can tell by the rapper truly gifted. Look, get mine, you get yours, do or die. I'm gonna win the war, rest assured.
Rolling right into it, our first impressions on the KRX. So after we picked this car up from our buddies at Burt's Mega Mall in Covina, California, it went right on the trailer and right up to Johnson Valley for some proper testing. That's where we shot our review and ride video, and that's the video you're gonna wanna watch for an in-depth look at this car, all the OE specs and all that goodness, but I'll be brief in a review. It's 68 inches wide, it's 99 inches long, and it makes about 112 horsepower. It slots right in the middle of most things out there on the market, and that's kind of the secret sauce of this car. So after Johnson Valley, we cleaned it up, brought it home, and took it to Lake Elsinore Motocross Park. And for you guys with turbo razors and X3s and all that good stuff, you're probably like, why'd you take that to the motocross track? Well, because we could, and we wanted to, and we did, and it surprised us. This thing actually did really well out there, but that's a conversation for the comments or another day. After the track, we cleaned it up again, put it back on a trailer, and across state lines and met up with Rick and the team at UTV Takeover in Sand Hollow, Utah, and we had a blast with this car. It was still in stock trim aside from a set of 5150 whips, and this thing just went everywhere. We did double Sammy, we did all sorts of good stuff. There's videos on that, you can check it out. But anyway, after that event, Rick put it on his trailer, took it back to his shop, and was ready to start in the build. But before we started on the build, we came up with a list of pros and cons on this thing in stock trim, and we're gonna share them with you. First up on the list of pros, or things we liked about the car, was performance. And I'm not talking about any one thing in particular, I'm talking about the whole package, the whole enchilada, what you get off the showroom floor. Between the track width, the wheelbase, and the power, everything just works so well together in the KRX, where the power isn't outdriving the suspension, or anything else isn't really outdoing another to make anything stand out, if that makes sense. It just all works very well as a complete package, probably one of the best that we've experienced in a long, long time. Number two, it's comfortable. And that probably goes to the 31-inch carnivores that come on this thing stock and the Fox 2.5 podium coilovers front and rear, combined with that live valve technology. I mean, with the flip of a switch, you can go from soft to normal to firm. This thing is gonna be comfortable and ride well for just about anyone in any terrain. And adding to that is just the ergonomics of this car, the way it feels when you're in it. It's got a high door line, a high bed line, just really feels kind of like a truck more so than a UTV or side-by-side. That might sound silly, but get in one of these things and you'll understand. And third on the list of pros is room on the inside of the cab and upgradability. And what I mean by that is literally room. If you're a 6-foot+ guy, you just slide that seat back and you're gonna be comfy as far as driving position. You're a smaller dude, slide it up. You're gonna be ripping no problem. And then all the room around the driver position, passenger position. There's room for bags in the back. There's room for bags up top. There's glove box. There's a center console box. There's cup holders everywhere. There is tons of room for stuff, tons of room for fun and goodies to add, and tons of room for upgrades that you can get at utvsource.com. Now, cons. There's always got to be a negative, right? There's got to be a flip side of the coin. So let's get into it. And I'll admit this list was harder to build out than the pros, that's for sure. So number one on the list of things we didn't really like was power. And this is low hanging fruit, guys. I don't want to say the KRX is slow, it's just not quick. Number two on the list of things we didn't like so much are the automotive style seatbelts. Now, when the package out of the box is so good, or as good as the KRX is, we got to pick something, right, that just kind of held the whole experience back, and that would be the seatbelts. The stock seats in this thing are super comfy, but the seat belts just, they leave you bouncing around a little bit when things get rough. They kind of start chafing your neck a little bit after a full day in the car. They're very common on stock side-by-sides and UTVs, but if we had to pick something, that would be number two. Last but not least on the list of cons, this one was hard, guys, and I really feel like I'm fudging it for you, but I want to say is red. We got a Cowie. I was all excited. I wanted a lime green machine in the garage, and it showed up as red, but that's just me. That's personal preference. There's plenty of other things that I've seen on other videos and all that good stuff, but really, again, it was hard to fill out that list of three. I'm gonna stick with that. It's a weak one, but we're gonna keep moving forward. So after I drove the car, after Rick drove the car, we had a little chit chat session about it. We came up with that list of pros and cons. It was time for Rick to take the thing back to the shop and get to work on the build. Now, if you really want to get in depth on the parts that went on this car, why, what, who, all that good stuff, you're gonna want to watch the UTV Source build walk around on this thing. It's a good video. Rick does a great job of showing you guys everything we put on this car, but I'm gonna be quick and to the point. So when it comes to wheels and tires, we went with a 35-10-15 GBC Dirt Commander 2.0 wrapped around some KMC Recon beadlocks. On the performance side of things, we went with the Trinity Racing Stage 5 exhaust and paired that with a DynoJet Power Vision tuner preloaded with the Trinity tune. The stock suspension on this car was really, really good, so we made minor improvements with the ZRP, Zollinger Racing Products tie rod setup, and then we went with Super ATV billet radius rods in the back that are fully adjustable for camber, caster, tow, and all that good stuff. In the lighting department, we went with the Heretic Studios lighting package consisting of a 10-inch amber bar down low to cut through that dust. There's 6 series A-pillar lights, and then a 40-inch single row bar on top of the roof. For safety and storage, we went with PRP Seats RST suspension seats paired with their 4.2 latch and link harnesses. We continued on with PRP throughout the car and put on a set of their truss bags, their firewall bags, and their overhead bags on this thing for plenty of storage. And to help us out with a little additional storage, we went with the Prinsu Design Studio roof rack. It's made out of channeled aluminum and is a really cool addition to this KRX. When it comes to comms and audio, we went with a Rugged Radio's complete UTV kit that comes with their digital mobile radio, their intercom, and all the good stuff that you need, including a mount, so you can take calls in your car, you can talk to everyone in your group, you can talk to your passengers, you can do all that good stuff. It's hard to beat that complete UTV kit. Make sure you check it out. Additional accessories we put on this car include Trinity Racing's new Apex mirrors. We did a rear view mirror and their side mirrors. We went with Assault Industries on our steering wheel, our quick disconnect. We used a Assault shift knob and brought the brand outside of the car with their new Hellfire grille. Because we knew this car was going to be bouncing off rocks and trees and all sorts of other good stuff, we went with Tab Performance and a set of their Nerf bars, or tree kickers as some people call them, to keep the body clean and to keep those things getting banged up rather than the car itself. And right behind the Nerf bars is a set of Rock Knocker defense flaps, and They're a much better product than just calling them a mud flap, but what these things do is basically sweep the trail to keep rocks and twigs and any debris outside of your driveline components, outside of tearing up your axles or your shocks or anything like that. Be sure you check out Rock Knocker. After Rick got all these parts bolted up, torqued down, and everything on the car, that landed us at video number 3, which is our UTV Source build walk around. Check it out. So after we filmed our UTV Source build walk around, we just happened to be back in Johnson Valley, California for the 2022 Ultra 4 Racing King of the Hammers. And what a better place to test the new car than there. We had several different drivers in this thing across different terrains. We were in sand, we were in whoops, we were in big rocks, little rocks, doing it all. And again, we were just continually impressed by the Kawasaki and what it could do. Now, bigger, better, badder, with a whole list of parts from utvsource.com. After the dust settled from King of the Hammers, I cleaned this thing up and took it out to a camping trip in Death Valley, California. Again, some really nasty terrain out there, different kind of rocks. I mean, we're talking trails that are made up of sharp rocks and all sorts of aggressive stuff that's just looking to cut one of these GVC tires or damage something like that. But thanks to the equipment we put on this car, no such thing. It was awesome. Everything worked as it should and I can't complain. So our big notes on this car after we put all those cool parts on it and really spent some time in the driver's seat, I mean, first off, big tires fill big holes. Whether you're going fast and trying to skip across the tops of whoops, or you're going slow and doing rock crawling stuff and whatnot, these 35s just really fill the holes. They keep the rubber on the ground, they keep the power moving forward, and it's just an amazing feeling ripping this car around. If you're in two-wheel drive and kind of throwing it in the corners and stuff, it feels like a desert truck versus like a UTV or side-by-side. It's just big. It's big, it's got more ground clearance, all that good stuff. And with bigger tires, bigger wheels, you'd think, wow, this thing was already kind of down on power, it probably just robbed all of it, right? No. With that Trinity Stage 5 and the DynoJet Power Vision tuner with the Trinity Tune, man, I feel like we didn't really lose anything and probably still came out on top as far as power goes. And now, like I mentioned in the cons before, that the exhaust note, you couldn't really hear it. You can hear this thing. It's aggressive, it's loud, you can hear the thing coming, but in the best way possible. It sounds rowdy. When you fire this thing up and it's just idling, it's got a really great idle note. And then when you're on the gas, it sounds mean. And as comfy as this thing was stock, the list of PRP bags that we put on this thing, paired with the seats and the harnesses, just made it that much more comfortable. If we can keep extra belts, tools, parts, things like that, we can keep waters and snacks and all that good stuff in the car, and it really doesn't feel bulky, or we don't have all this stuff hanging off of it. So really good improvement there as far as the overall usability of the car and the ability for it to be kind of an all day long capable kind of car. So now we've got cool parts in the car. We've taken it out, we beat on this thing across different events and different terrains with different drivers behind the wheel. One thing we want to talk about with this break-in period review is exactly that, the break-in period. And with the break-in period comes a basic service. And a basic service on the KRX is very simple. We're talking an oil change and oil filter change. It's a matter of a 17mm socket to pull the drain plug off the bottom of the oil pan and a fluted oil filter wrench that you can get at your local auto parts store. Very simple, drop that plug, let the oil drain, spin off the oil filter, let that drain, go ahead and replace the plug, put a new oil filter on, and we filled this thing back up with 3.3 quarts of driven racing oil in their 10 weight 40 full synthetic. It's very simple for you guys to do at home. If you're doing it quick, it's a 15-20 minute job tops. If you want to pull the skid plates and really clean everything up, it can take as long or as short as you want. But thought we'd give you guys that information. It is a very simple affair. And when it comes to other maintenance and service like belts and belt wear or anything like that, we haven't had to do really anything. All right, so now that we talked about driving this thing stock, we talked about driving it built, we talked about where we took it, what we did, who's driven it, all that good stuff, we have arrived at the point of this video, which is the hot take. This is our chance to really give you our brutal, honest thoughts and feelings on the car and kind of an enthusiast-based point of view to where we're not holding any punches. So let's get right to it. This car is what I keep referring to as the perfect medium. And literally, when it comes to dimensions, it's 68 inches wide. It's not 64 like a lot of your sport UTVs. It's not 72 like your higher end sport UTVs. It's right there in the middle. Wheelbase, it's 99 inches long. So it's longer than a lot of your 2-seat sport UTVs, but not quite as long as your 4-seat sport UTVs. And what that does is really open you up to ride this thing anywhere and drive aggressively. You could throw it into a corner a little bit harder than your 64-inch wide cars. It's a little more stable. If you're on the rocks doing rock crawling stuff and stuff like that, it's not as tippy. It wants to stay planted. That wheelbase really helps when you're in the whoops. You're hitting it hard. You don't get that buck like you do on some of your shorter cars. And then when you combine those dimensions with the power this car puts out, that 999cc parallel twin is making about 112 horsepower. So it's not the lowest on the books, it's definitely not the hot rod, but it's just perfect. It just all works together. It's not a slow car. It's not quick, but it's not slow. There's a difference there. It will keep up with the pack in big group runs and things like that, but if you're trying to beat somebody out of the hole or really just kind of whip this thing around, it might leave you wanting a little bit more. But it just does everything so well. The combination of dimensions and power, and then that Fox 2.5 podium coilover setup with the live valve technology, this thing is just butter. It works. Nothing's gonna let you outdrive the other thing, if you get what I'm saying. It's just enough power where if you're a new UTV owner, you know, you can kind of ease into it, or if you're a seasoned vet, you can really just drive this thing flat-footed, and the rest of the car around the engine will kind of take whatever you throw at it. It's built well enough to where it'll handle you driving it at its limits for as long as you want to. And speaking on build quality, it's a Kawasaki. Again, if you take care of this thing and you service it regularly, it's just gonna be a vehicle that you can drive season after season after season without any major issues, unless your driving skill runs out a little bit. And the final thing to talk about in this hot take is that this car is got a growing community building around it. The more review videos get out there, the more ride-alongs people give in these things. It's easy to see why people get hooked on the KRX. It is just a Swiss Army knife. Rick calls it a billy goat. I call it the perfect medium. It's just a car that's a crowd pleaser. It works well in different terrain with different drivers and all that good stuff. And I know for a fact that out in Moab and in Sand Hollow, a lot of the rental companies are replacing their other units with the KRX just because of how well they do, how kind of easy they are to drive, and you know, how durable these things are. So with that growing community means a growing aftermarket, and that's the beauty of the KRX is, yeah, it might be lacking a little bit of power, but UTVSource.com's got supercharger kits, turbocharger kits, performance tuners, exhaust, all that good stuff that you can put on these things to really get it where you want it to be. Now, wrapping all this up and putting a bow on it, who is this car for? Well, this car is for anybody. This car is for everybody. This car is for the brand new UTV owner who is looking for something that they can get in, they can learn, they can cut their teeth on, you know, maybe a little low maintenance, doesn't have some of the issues that some of the other models out there have. This car is perfect for the first-time UTV owner. This car is also perfect for the seasoned vet. Again, if you know what you're doing behind the wheel, slap some 35s on one of these things and drive it flat-footed. It is an experience. I mean, yeah, you can always want more top end, right? But the ability to come into a boulder garden and just go, yeah, I can do that, or, you know, hit whoops and go, yeah, I can do that, you know, as fast as this car will go. It's a great experience. It's a really cool car. And, you know, even if you think you're that seasoned vet and your driving skill might be 90%, not 99%, and you blow a corner or, you know, miss your turn or something like that, make a mistake, the car is tough enough to where it's gonna handle those little mistakes. Now, if you go sending it off the trail, that might be a different thing, but you know, you tag a rock or tag a tree or something like that, this thing's gonna keep on trucking and stay on the trail. This car is definitely for the rock crawling crowd. I mean, it's got a really cool high and low power switch to where you really need to get technical and need to mind your RPMs and things like that and try to prevent wheel spin. You can flip that switch and get you up and over any obstacle you need to get. Again, we had this thing out in Sand Hollow, and Rick had a great time in this thing doing double Sammy, threw the keys at me and had me go right up the chute. That was my first time on a rock trail in a UTV, and made it easy, just kind of point and shoot. So for a rock crawler, this thing is a beast for sure. And this car is definitely a winner for people who want to ride just about everywhere. If you're in Ocotillo one weekend and Glamis the next, and you want to load all your stuff up and go to the other side of the country and go to an off-road park and go have some fun in the mud and the trees, this car will do it. Again, it's not too wide where you're gonna have trouble getting down some really tight trails. It's not underpowered to where it's just not gonna be fun. It's the perfect medium, and it's the perfect medium just about everywhere. So I highly recommend this car for just about everybody. Obviously, if you know you want the hot rod, you know you want that 190, 195 or plus horsepower car, this probably isn't for you. But if you want a car that will do everything and do it comfortably and is an all-day car, literally like sit in the seat all day and be comfortable and have a good time, the KRX is definitely worth your consideration. All right, guys, so that wraps it up for our UTV Source Break-In Period review on the KRX1000. I hope that we brought something to the table for you to consider, or something to help you make a decision on a new UTV or a new part for your KRX. We've really had a blast with the KRX. This thing is awesome. It really is a Swiss Army knife when it comes to just working well and performing in just about any terrain with just about anyone behind the wheel. It'll really boost your confidence if you're a new driver. If you're a vet, again, you can just kind of point and shoot, and this thing will do just about anything that you ask of it. So we hope you guys learned something, had a little fun. This is a new video for us in our build series, so guys, let us know in the comments. What do you want to know more of? What do you want to know less of? Questions, concerns, all that good stuff, let us know below. And last but not least, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you're getting notifications when that next video pops up. And thank you for joining me and this KRX in the garage today. We hope you had a good time, and we will see you on the next one.